Welcome to the Automotive Blockchain channel, everyone. Hey, welcome back. And for those of you that are new to the Automotive Blockchain channel, you gotta get on the bus. Strap it on in, there's plenty of room. Let's kick this thing off. But before I do, a love dub goes out from my heart to all of yours. All right, so Forbes put out this article, How Blockchain Augments the Electronic Vehicle Industry. And they have three basic tenets. And they are basically reducing electronic vehicle production costs, enabling power trading, which is kind of like peer-to-peer electronic trading, so you can sell your electric to other people, and then by enabling or creating a vehicle passports. And this article in itself, it goes through a couple of things, but I wanted to highlight some things out of this. All right, so first and foremost, as they're going through this article, you know, they're saying that it's going to be developing of the electronic industry or the EV industry. One of the things that it suggests in here, though, is that electronic vehicle owners can save about $700 per year on fuel costs alone. And that in itself, in many cases, or in some cases, is true. It just depends on what vehicle you're trying to compare it to. One of the things that is, and I've sold plenty of cars. I've been in dealerships on the sales side as well as on the service side. And one of the things that I guess you have to look at that is when you compare model to model, and this is one of the important things. So if you were trying to buy, let's say, for instance, the new electronic F-150 that's coming out, and let me actually go back a little bit. When electronic vehicles were first coming out, let's say, for instance, like the Toyota Prius, if you were going to be buying the Prius, or if you were going to be buying some of these other, let's say, hybrid vehicles and things like that, they actually cost more on the sticker price. So when you were do the math in some of these cases, some of the models, not all, but a good portion of them, the amount that you would save per year on fuel costs, you were paying more for the vehicle when you first bought it. So this entire paragraph right here, while is true after the purchase of the vehicle, such as owning electrical vehicles can save them money by reducing their extreme reliance on fossil fuels, check. It can also help deplete, help the earth out with carbon emissions. Okay, I got that, check. Additional electronic vehicles are incredibly efficient and consume approximately 25%, so we got all that, okay? It even will help in some cases on the maintenance costs, but all of that is after you purchase the vehicle. In some cases, though, some of these vehicles could be $3,000, $4,000, $6,000 more than a comparable model of that same manufacturer line. So you kind of have to average those costs out and think about the lifetime ownership of the electronic vehicle as you're doing that. Now, here's the thing, folks. It's not going to matter because every single manufacturer is switching out of ICE engines anyway, and you're all going to be buying electric. So I'm just here to let you know. Which may be one of the reasons why you might want to switch over to some of the more cost-effective electronic vehicles as we pursue forward. So anyway, let's get down into the tenets, all right? And as we said before, reducing production cost is one of them. And when it comes down to reducing the production costs, the key thing that the manufacturers are looking at are going to be the materials. So blockchain-based applications can come track and trace the actual production materials that are associated with making the vehicle, which could help bring production costs down. And the key thing with that is that as these manufacturers are going ahead and producing these cars, they're coming across situations whereby things such as cobalt and other, which are used to make some of the electronic batteries, and the lithium that are in the electronic batteries, they're coming from sources that are not all that same. I've done a couple of videos on that, meaning that they come from sources where the mining operations are really bad. Their children are working that, etc. So they really want to be able to track where the materials are coming from. And if any of the materials that are required for the vehicle have issues or coming from sources that are not green, then they don't like that. Another thing with that is that if any of the materials that are required for the vehicles must be recalled, the manufacturer's got to understand where all that is coming from, so blockchain could help kind of track those down. And in electronic vehicles, there are a lot of components, tons and tons of sensors that are built up all sorts of things. And if any of those break, they need to be able to source where those materials are coming from and the partners that supplied to them. So blockchain, putting all of the suppliers, and some of these manufacturers, I remember reading last year, I did a video on that, Volkswagen could have some 20,000+ individual suppliers in their supply chain. So figuring out where the faulty item came from which supplier, making sure that those suppliers are on the blockchain is a big deal. So that would make the supply chain a lot leaner and cutting down on all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff. So that's how they could reduce costs on the production side. However, there is another aspect of this, and that is enabling power trading. And this is where it comes down to, you, me, the buyers, the peer-to-peer type of exchanges. And even though the manufacturers are going to have their issues, well, what about on the electric grid itself? So we understand that the electric vehicles, many people are hesitant to buy these things because, hey, as it says right here, charging ports are not always widespread in certain countries. Now, we know that Parkopedia, and I did a video about this, and you can see the image up here. Parkopedia is literally making great efforts in the European bloc countries to basically spread and help put out charging stations all across the country. And pretty much Europe and Asia, they are doing a lot greater efforts to put electronic ports in more remote areas than the United States is. I don't know, US, you guys got to get your head out of your you-know-where. But that being said, one of the hesitations for electronic vehicles is that owners tend to live in constant fear of running out of battery power during long distance commutes. Here's the thing, folks. If you're living in the middle of Kansas in the United States and you're trying to get from, let's say, Kansas City on over to I don't know, Lincoln, Nebraska or something like that, somewhere where you're just trying to get from point A to point B, and there are 60, 70, 80 miles that were between literally towns in some cases, you'll go out and make sure you're charged up properly. Now, if you are at a full charge, you may have to make that trip, but I'm just saying. So to tackle this problem, charging port availability, the concept of blockchain-based peer-to-peer EV charging can be used. Now here's the thing, this concept involves the use of blockchain for EV charging through power trading. So I like this idea because electronic vehicle EV owners may possess their own private chargers that enables them to power their vehicles. So if you think about if you're traveling across stretches of the land and you come across a farmer who may have a sign up that says private EV sharing, you could be able to pull right on in there and be able to go ahead and charge your vehicle at a cost. So through specialized digital P2P, and that's peer-to-peer, charging platforms, owners can make their charges available to the general public during times when they're not using them. Now, there are a few examples of this. And here, this is not investment advice of any kind, but it just shows you right here. Blockchain for EV charging platforms such as Share and Charge, Charge Map, Arrow Environment, Easy Park, and Charge. Okay? And that's where the EV owners who source the power can end up selling it peer-to-peer. So owners of private EV chargers can increase the utility of their idle chargers by power trading through a secured blockchain platform. I love that idea because it puts the power back into the people. Yes, there is a pun in there, but it does put the power back into the people, and that is making it, in my opinion, a little bit more decentralized versus allowing one company such as Tesla. And I'm not against Tesla. I really like everything that, not everything, but I like a number of things that Elon Musk is doing. With respect to that. So while companies like Tesla or GM or maybe even the city that you may live in may put in, and what I mean by the city, I mean the power companies, may be putting charging stations all around, this will enable you, the person, decentralizing from the infrastructure that's controlled by government in order to enable to help the process out. So the article goes on to read that if you are with a manufacturer that's enabling that sort of infrastructure, that's going to help with the smart grid system. So now, enabling creation of digital vehicle passports. This is the third thing in the tenet. And I got a couple of things about this, but digital passports are very, very important for a number of reasons. You know, odometer readings could be all jacked up and everything. So when you're buying an electronic vehicle, or any type of vehicle, I mean, this is just focusing on electronic vehicles, but buyers of used EVs need to know several details before they can finalize their purchase decision. Now, this is of any vehicle in my opinion, but these details include, hey, how many miles are on this thing? Because there are, as I said before, a number of issues with odometer readings, and there is so much money lost from odometer fraud, trading of odometer fraud. It is ridiculous, and manufacturers are doing what they can to circumvent that by utilizing blockchain. Now, blockchain-based applications enable used car vendors, and that could be the franchise owner, or it could be the tens of thousands of independent owners, those smaller used car lots out there, and some of them are actually pretty big. But they create a digital passport for each of their electronic vehicles. And I kind of implore that really the digital passport must start with the manufacturer and the franchise dealers that are out there. That's where the digital passport has to start. And here's the thing, folks. Mobi is creating a standard that. If you don't know who Mobi is, go ahead, look at the links or whatever, but check out Mobi, M-O-B-I, and they are developing standards at the manufacturer level in order to make sure that these digital passports and digital IDs, and as they say, literally a birth certificate, a VIN birth certificate will be made with the vehicle. So now that trickles down into the used car dealerships. We'll be able to take that passport and pass it on. So this way you would be able to scan a QR code on the seller's application. Okay, you'd be able to scan a QR code and get all the history based off the blockchain in order to get an idea of how the vehicle is maintained, all the records associated with that, and that would help you have a secured application and be able to secure a nice vehicle based off of the whatever is located on the record. So there you have it. Now I understand that a lot of people seem to think that blockchain in and of itself is only used for cryptocurrency, folks. When it comes to electronic vehicles and the infrastructure, please keep in mind that any cryptocurrency that you are looking at, make sure it has use cases. Make sure it has real world utility so that you can apply it to your real life utility. And that's it, folks. Let me know what you think of the video. We are 11 minutes in, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Automotive Blockchain channel.